Having this yellow box in my hand just feels so surreal. If you haven't heard the news, it was announced over on Illumicrate's Instagram. I am the Illumicrate YouTube rep for the months of April, May, and June of 2023. So you guys will be seeing those unboxings on my channel for the next couple of months, starting with the April unboxing. I am surprised that I haven't been spoiled, but I've really just been keeping my head down with the recent move and graduating school, so I haven't been consuming a lot of bookish content, and so I feel like that saved me a lot from being spoiled. So the theme for April was Be My Enemy, and let's open her up. We have a little bag here. This is the cutest thing ever. It's like a little dagger. And it actually has some heft to it. Ah, this would be so cool to use as a bookmark. I definitely am going to use this as a bookmark. I really love this. This is so adorable. So the sword is the Sword of Truth replica. It is from the Throne of Glass series, which is very interesting because Throne of Glass is the only Sarah J Maas series that I have not read. I tried to read Throne of Glass 2 years ago, and I made it to the beginning of book 2 and promptly DNF'd. I know that I'm more detached now and that I can actually make it through the series. I think that I was more of a Sarah J Maas fan at the time that I tried to read it, and the beginning books of Throne of Glass is just such a rough experience to get through that I did not want to sully Sarah J Maas's standing in my head, because at that time I was reading books from her that I enjoyed. Now, as it turns out, her last 3 releases have just all been 1 stars. Actually, I know I gave House of what's the Nesta book? House of Silver Flames? No, Court of Silver Flames. I gave 1 star. House of Sky and Breath. I also gave 1 star. So yeah, I think at this point it's the perfect time for me to go back and actually make it through Throne of Glass because I don't have as many expectations. So yeah, maybe I'll return to Throne of Glass sometime in the future. The next item we have is this red tumbler with a straw. It says the Vermilion Bird on the cover. I think I know, this is giving Iron Widow, but I don't know because I actually DNF'd Iron Widow. It totally is from Iron Widow. That was a very good guess. And then the next item we have is this banner that I can hang. And this is either given Shadow and Bone or it's the Farseer. So it's the pin banner for the Farseer family in the Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. And now that I'm seeing that actually makes a lot of sense. It sounds familiar. The top part was giving me Shadow and Bone for a second there, but it certainly has Farseer vibes to it. And then the last thing we have is a paper craft kit that's inspired by Rand from the Poppy War. It looks like you're going to be taking out these detachments and making the photo, making something similar to this image yourself. I think it's a really dope design and it actually kind of matches my nails. So yeah, hints of red is totally the vibe for the month. And then the actual book edition for this month is Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. This has such a pretty design and the end pages are beautiful, of course. The covering says, "Where we live, the enemy shall fear us. We are what's left, and we are what must survive." This is the design on the other end, on the book end pages. I really love this concept of something shattering. It really fits in with the theme of the story, and I'm interested in our 2 characters. So I've heard a lot about this book. It's highly anticipated for a lot of reasons, but it is a standalone space opera. I have a bittersweet relationship with space operas, but the synopsis of this one is the most intriguing that I've heard of so far. So we're following Kira, who has trained her entire life in order to avenge the destruction of planet Earth. She was raised and trained on this Gaia station alongside the last scraps of humanity. Now, Kira herself is one of the best warriors of her generation. She's also known as the Sword of a Dead Planet. However, before she can start her journey to justice, her brother is assigned to die and she's relegated to the nursery where she's just supposed to bear their sons until she dies. This is unexpected and it really throws Kira off of her plan. She decides to take her revenge mission into her own hands, and working alongside her brother's best friend, they're gonna have to escape everything that they know and everything that they've grown accustomed to, only to discover that the universe is far more complicated than she's been taught and that the world is so much more wondrous. It says that this is a thrillingly told queer space opera about the wreckage of war, the family you find, and who you must become when every choice is stripped from you. The back has blurbs from the author of Winter's Orbit, The Atlas Six, She Who Became the Sun, The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, and the author of The Unspoken Name have all blurbed this book. So yeah, it's building up the expectations and the hype. Either way, I still think that this is like a beautiful addition of a book, but the synopsis is really serving. And so I'm very excited to check this book out. Of course, my favorite thing in this entire box is gonna be this cute little freaking sword. It's literally my new favorite thing. Welcome to the start of another reading vlog. I've been trying to, intros are really hard for me to remember to do because I always forget them. And I have been trying to force myself to film intros. And so I will put off the vlogging process until I film the intro. And then it's just been proving to not be the most efficient approach because then I end up putting off the entire vlog until I can get the intro filmed. So maybe we need to find another method to make this work. But once again, per Monet fashion, it is like the middle of the night and I am printing little graphics for a learning board that I'm gonna put together for my daughter. My youngest daughter just turned 2, and with my first daughter we had this really huge learning board, and it really helped with potty training her, to sit her on the potty and go through numbers, shapes, letters, days of the week, and animals, and her name and her age and stuff like that while sitting on the potty. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're gonna do it the second time around, and hopefully it's as successful as the first. So yeah, tomorrow my 2-year-old, her life is gonna change. I tried to make it fun, okay? We got little Mickey Mouse graphics over here, but yeah, she's gonna get a rude awakening in terms of her education and development. But in this vlog, I have a tentative TBR. I know that I want to read Drowning by TJ Newman. This is the author that wrote, what is the name of that freaking book? TJ Newman. She wrote, does it start with an F? Falling. TJ Newman wrote Falling, which is a very quick popcorn thriller about a hijacked plane and the desperate attempt at rescue by the pilot as well as the flight attendants. It's a very short book, but it came out 2 years ago at this point, and me and Chanel buddy read it and we had a fantastic time. We both gave it 5 stars, and yeah, it was a debut novel by TJ Newman, who actually is or was a flight attendant, and so her inspiration behind writing Falling was her experience as a flight attendant and playing into that. And so I'm excited to see what she does with her sophomore novel. Me and Chanel are buddy reading this one again, so yeah, it should be a fun time. The second book that we're going to read in this vlog is called The Island, which I recently hauled in a video where I went to Barnes & Nobles and shopped my new local location. And this is a 5-star prediction, so I'm excited for this one. I'm in the mood for some thriller books and I'm hoping to get a banger. I feel pretty confident because we have an author that I've already given 5 stars on here, and then we have a book based off just my personal preference is a 5-star prediction, so going in strong. I don't know what the third book will be for this video. Shout out to Libro for holding down the fort and getting us the second early release copy of the audiobook for TJ Newman, because that's actually how we read it the first time. Libro dropped the early release audiobook for Falling and me and Chanel grabbed it, and they came back with the second peat this time around. So yeah. Good morning. It is not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet. I am up, I am out. I'm about to get my eyelashes done, and it's 7:20 in the morning. I don't know why I scheduled such an early appointment, but yeah, it'll never happen again. But I did start Drowning last night, and I think I totally mispronounced the title of this book in the intro clip. But in my defense, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning last night, so there's that. But yes, I did start Drowning, and it started off exactly as I expected it to. I feel like from the cover, you can tell this is going to be about a plane going down, and that is essentially what it is. We have a little, like, we opened this book slightly different from where we did in Falling because the plane is going to be hijacked, and the pilot's family, like his wife and his kid, matters to the story as well. We start off with him at home, and he's going through like the mundane morning experiences of getting ready, kissing his wife and kid goodbye, meeting coworkers and flight attendants, and then starting the plane. So like it's very slow. But in this one, we start with a blown engine, and we have a character that's just waking up to just like witness the engine blowing, and everyone's like, we're caught in like this frozen moment where everyone's coming to the realization that doom is impending, and we're hanging in that balance for a couple of chapters as we hop around to different characters, and everyone is like right on the precipice of catastrophe, or like of being nervous of catastrophe, but they don't want to say it just yet, and they're waiting to hear from the pilot. And of course you get this announcement that they're gonna do like this immediate landing of the plane in the water. I will say that because in Falling it's about a hijacked plane for the entire book, I didn't expect the change of like pace. I mean, how long can a plane really be going down? But I think that this is more of just like the beginning, like prelude to the story, because there's a line that says that everyone that ended up surviving when the plane hit the water thought that they were lucky, but they didn't understand that this was just the beginning of like the upcoming like trials and tribulations that they were gonna have to face. And it's giving Hatchet vibes for sure. It's definitely given that they're gonna be fighting for their lives. I hope they're not gonna be stuck in the water for a long period of time. But yeah, the plane has just did this emergency landing, and that is where I currently stopped in the book. Is it like a perfect book by any means? No, it is not. I think that there are ways that TJ Newman could be better. I mean, I haven't really gotten into the book just yet, but I think that for the plots that she picks, it's really easy to just like consume the story because you're so caught up in the action and the emotional reactions of the characters facing whatever they're facing. And I think that her having had a career as a flight attendant, she can really create these scenes on a plane about plane emergencies that just feel so incredibly real, to the point where like you overlook a lot of the critiques that you have. I enjoy quick, fun little reads like this, and that is what I'm coming to know TJ Newman for. The book is really short. The audiobook is only a total of 7 hours, so of course we're going to get through this very quickly today, and I don't know how much I'll be able to update you on without spoiling what's happening, because it's just a reactionary plot to a shitty situation. So I'll just tell you when I'm done and how I thought about it. I've officially finished Drowning by TJ Newman, and I don't know, I feel like I'm stuck between rating this book a 4 and like a 4.5. It's not exactly a 5-star, but I enjoyed my time. I think that TJ Newman did a really good job balancing such a wide variety of characters and humanizing them in a way that really increased the connection when you're reading their story. There was one like relationship in particular where you get their backstory after the fact, and so it's like they're already in this very crappy situation and you already feel for them, but when you learn of the events that got them to where they are today and the things that kind of unfolded right before they got on this flight, it's like so gut-wrenching. I know that Falling is currently being adapted into a movie, but I almost feel like this one was written like for adaptation. Like it would be really sad if this did not come to screen, because it was just written in a way that would just make a really good movie. So here's the hoping that she gets a second adaptation of her sophomore novel, because yeah, it's given everything it was supposed to have gave. I definitely flew past Chanel, and it wasn't my intention to like dismantle this buddy read, but when I was putting together the learning board, and I'll put a picture up here, there was so much like time that went into like printing everything going in the middle of me printing things out. I had to stop and start again, and then I ran out of ink, and then so I had to stop and start again. And then I had to laminate all of the pieces, and then I had to trace them all out and then lay them out on the board and then tape them down to the board. So like by the time I finished with all of that, the book was pretty much done. That's what I was looking for in terms of like a fast but enticing read, so I'm gonna call that a win. I'm going to jump into the island sometime tonight, but first I have another unboxing for you guys because when I got home from running some errands, I had a whole bunch of packages here that I'm gonna open on camera. Several of these I don't know what they are, but let's just get into it. Okay, the first one is a gift. This is from Ray from Bookmark Chronicles, Baking Bad. So I posted this vlog not too long ago, a couple of months ago, that was me reading cozy fantasies by indie authors. And one of my subscribers commented and said that I should do cozy mysteries. And so I went on Amazon and I was looking for cozy mysteries, specifically by indie authors, so that I could do a follow-up video to the one that I already posted. And so this was one that I added to my wish list. Thank you, Ray. I'm very excited for this one. And Queen, you brought me new content. That'll be coming soon. I just need to get the other ones that I was thinking of. So thank you. Okay, the second is Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is from Alana's. Okay, this one says it is from Penguin. This is probably an arc of Her Good Side by Rebecca Witherspoon. This is her first like YA, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't read any of her adult books, but I don't know. I get enticed when I see romance authors jump into the YA genre just to see like what they can do. This looks to be a sports romance. We're following 16-year-old Bethany. She's confident and self-assured. She's also what they call a late bloomer. She's never had a boyfriend, a date, or even a first kiss. She's determined to change that, but after her crush turns her down cold for homecoming, declaring her too inexperienced, and all her backup ideas fall through, she cautiously agrees to go on a date with her best friend's boyfriend, Jacob. A platonic date is better than no date until Sailor breaks up with that said boyfriend. What? This plot just got crazy. Dumped twice in just 2 months, Jacob wonders if he's the problem. After years hiding behind his camera and a shocking summer glow-up, he wasn't quite ready for all the attention or to be someone's boyfriend. There are no guides to his particular circumstances or for taking your ex's best friends to the dance. Why not make the best of an awkward situation? Bethany and Jacob decide to fake date for practice, building their confidence in the matters of the heart. And it works. Guys are finally noticing Bethany, but things get complicated as their kissing sessions for research start to feel real. This is a lot for a YA, Rebecca. I don't know if that synopsis was clear to you, because I had an experience reading this. But basically, in short, we have Bethany here who has never had any type of romantic relationships or romantic experiences. And so she is going to go to a dance with her best friend's boyfriend who had an over the summer glow up that wasn't ready for all of the attraction that he started getting. And when her best friend breaks up with him, they decide to fake date, and now people want to get with Bethany, but she actually really does like her ex's or her best friend's ex. That's a lot. Am I gonna read it? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Sounds like a great time. I don't know who this one's from. It's from Alana. She got me 2 books for graduating with my master's. Paranesi. This was a book that was an anticipated release for me in 2021, and it was even a 5-star prediction, and I just forgot to buy it. I forgot to buy it and I forgot to read it. And I have seen the audiobook for this available on my Libby, but this is just one of those books that I wanted to read physically. I just never got around to purchasing physically. But this is a book that I really think I'm going to love. It's like purposely arbitrary and like abstract, and you're not even sure what's real or what is actually tangible within the story. It has a very like alternate reality kind of feel, and I've heard great things about this book. And so yeah, it's weird how that happens, right? When you have a book that you know that you're gonna read at some point before you die, hopefully, but you're in no rush to get to it, I guess, because you know that you are. And so there's the comfort in knowing that you're never gonna run out of books. Like there's always that list of books that's like, maybe it's time to like go buy that, go grab that, go pick it up. This was one of those for me. So shout out to Alana again. Okay, so speaking of the vlog that I posted, that was me reading cozy fantasies by indie authors. others. There was one book in that video that really shined, that I loved, and if you're watching this, you know that it was The House Witch. And so Fox and Wit is this like book subscription service that does like special editions of books, and they did a special edition of The House Witch, and it was just perfect, utterly perfect timing that I had just read this book and loved it so much. And then boom, Fox and Wit was doing a special edition version of it. And I love who we have on the cover. It's an insight to the relationship that I really enjoyed. And then the back of this says, sometimes a good bowl of soup or a buttered piece of fresh bread can make a terrible day feel better. And that is all the vibes that is in The House Witch. So yeah, this is gonna go on display on my shelves for sure. I hope that they do special editions for book 2 and 3. And I think there's even a pending release for book 4, because I surely plan to read all the books this winter. So I want to have a matching set, but still very excited to have this one. This haul was brought to you today by Penguin Teen, my friends, and myself. They keep me going. They give me serotonin when I have none. I read a really good book today. I got some really great books I'm excited to pick up, and I'm about to start a 5-star prediction, which is The Island. So I'll be back with initial thoughts on that. Let's talk about the level of stereotypical caucasity that is required for this story to work. This update is going to include light spoilers as to like how we start to unroll or unravel the story within the island. Heather is kind of just lost in the sauce of life, and she gets this client. She's a non-licensed massage therapist, but she works at the spa, and she meets Tom, who's a doctor, because he schedules an appointment, and he has like some tension in his neck or something like that. And this is how the relationship kind of kicks off, and she is swept up in this whirlwind of a romance. I'm not gonna say he's on the hunt, but his previous wife and the mother of his 2 kids passed away the year before, and so now he is a doctor who has 2 kind of motherless kids, and he meets Heather, and so he just kind of enfolds her into his life, and she is struggling to have an identity and to develop a space for herself within his environment and his reality, and she is battling giving up a lot of the visions that she had for her future, but she also seems very lackluster when it comes to will, almost as if she's not fighting or really pushing back on this full assimilation into Tom's life. So because his 2 kids are dealing with the loss of their mother as recently as a year ago, and they have this young stepmother that seems to have popped up overnight, they don't like her. So it starts off very domestic, where we're just getting to know these things about them. And so Tom has a conference that he's going to go speak at in Australia, and his kids are forced on this trip with Heather, and the kids are excited about the idea of seeing kangaroos and koalas, but they start to complain during their trip that they haven't seen any kangaroos or any koalas. Some obscure people nearby overhear some of their complaints, and they're like, oh yeah, we come from this private island where our family lives, and there's just something very eerie about them. And they're like, yeah, no one is allowed on our island, and the matriarch of our family does not take kindly to visitors. However, we will ferry you to this private island via our private personal ferry boats, and as long as you don't wander in too deep on the island, you can see your koalas and then meet us back here at the port at a particular time, and we'll get you off the island that is owned by our very obscure family that no one is allowed to be on. And so Heather and Tom immediately take them up on this offer, and they go to this island. While they're on this island, there's a car accident that happens where Tom is driving the car, and he hits a girl, and she ends up passing away. And they are very nervous to like call the cops or to let anyone know what has happened, because they are aware that they're not even supposed to be on this island, and that the island is privately owned by a family. And so this has to be a family member that they have now murdered. And so they're like, let's just drag her body out of the road to the side, go down to the port, catch the ferry back, and then call the cops from there. And then no one will be the wiser. It's almost comical, the caucasity and like the naivete of the characters in this book. It's like the inexperience and the privilege makes them dumbasses. Like everything about what has happened so far is like, realistically, how would we even get here? Like let's be honest. Like, you guys are in a foreign country, random people that you have acknowledged seem a little off, walked up to you and offered to take you to a private island, literally telling you that you're not welcome there, but they'll sneak you on. They'll betray their own matriarch of their very family to let you on just so that your white kids could see some koalas. You flew from Seattle to Australia, and nothing about this seems a little it's funny. I'm trying not to laugh because I know that like it's supposed to be like a serious situation, but this is such an unserious fucking plot. Like, I hope that the book doesn't take itself seriously, because everything about this is humorous so far in a way that like is unintentional, because it's not trying to be humorous. It's trying to make you believe that this is even a semblance of a possibility, let alone a reality for Heather and her two kids. So yeah, they are on the ferry boat and it's moving, and then the person that is taking them back across to the mainland gets the call that the incident happened and that the girl was found dead, and they are taken to the matriarch, and they're basically like, oh well, we told her to get out of the way and she didn't, and they're like, oh well, she was deaf. And I'm just like, this is so funny at this freaking point. We have to suspend our belief for everything that has happened thus far, but now we've gotten down to it, and now the person that they hit, the young girl that they have now killed, was deaf, so she would not have heard the car coming. But also, she's on her family's private island. She doesn't expect to need to look out or listen out for anyone, because everyone should be looking out and listening out for her, because this is just a community of her own flesh and blood. So yeah, it's humorous and it's funny. I'm not gonna say I don't like it so far. It's just, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, it's just not, it's not giving realism, but it is giving a bit of like suspend your disbelief and jump into some escapism, and like don't question anything and you might have a good time. But yeah, we're about like 75 pages in, and those are my initial thoughts. I think that I'm gonna withhold a lot of like my tougher criticisms, because I feel like the ridiculousness is on the surface and the ridiculousness is pretty obvious. And so I'm not going to take a deep dive into that. I'm just going to take it for what it is, enjoy it at face value, and really try not to giggle anymore at what's happening in the story. But these characters are given like stereotypical, like, you had the white audacity to believe that you were the exception to literally every rule, and that in the event of a tragedy, you could control the fallout around the death of a young girl. Okay, sure. I love a good laugh. I love a good hee hee ha ha. So for fuck's sake, let's just go with it. Let's say that you are that special. This book conflicts me in so many ways. Like, I enjoyed it. Let's just start there. I enjoyed this book. I think if I was going to rate it, I would settle on 4 stars, but somewhere along like my critiques of the book, it would probably drop to like 3.5 or in between a 3.5 and a 4. But for the sake of posterity and to keep this very conscious streamline of thoughts, I'm going to settle on 4 stars for this book. I think that it has great storytelling. I think that it has great visuals, and it can really give you a sense of like tension and suspense on page for what's happening within the story. The development and like the character reactions to what was happening with the story was like really spot on. And I think that when the adaptation comes out, it'll probably be a great on-screen production. However, I think that this book very often strayed from realistic to like far-fetched, and I think I would have preferred it to be borderline far-fetched or like borderline absurd, but there was moments throughout the plot where like we took the wheel and we were completely on the other side of fucking reality, and I was like, come on, like let's be serious here, like let's be fucking for real here. And so those moments really just is what's stopping me from like calling this a really great thriller or like a really perfect book. But I also think that that comes down to personal preference. If you enjoy the thrilling aspects of your thriller and it doesn't really need to be grounded in a heavy sense of reality, this would probably be a 5-star read. But if you're the opposite of that scale and you need like some sense of like let's be serious here, like let's take a book kind of serious as to like what's happening within the story, and the thrilling aspect is not enough to offset that for you, I think that this book would really get on your nerves. If you're somewhere in the middle like I am, where it's like I don't mind it as much, but like don't get out of pocket, 4 stars. It's solid. But I definitely plan to watch the on-screen production. Now, our main character, Heather, she was so much more capable, so much more of a badass than we were led to believe in the beginning. So it was really entertaining to just watch her come into like her motherly self and to defend these stepchildren that she just acquired that really hate her fucking guts. To watch her defend them with vigor and with passion, more than really we've seen from the father, from their biological father. So the relationship that is developing between Heather and then her stepchildren is really neat to see, especially under the circumstances that they are under. This book also paid a lot of homage to the Aboriginal people and the indigenous people of the land that they were on, and so that was also really nice to see. Like, there's so many great things about this book. I just wish that like we had stayed on the right side of reality and the absurdness, the caucasity, the audacity of the white folks with privilege in this book, especially in the beginning, was just crazy to me. Like, offering $900 to go to a private island where you know that you're not welcome just so that your spoiled kids could see koalas, as if there's no zoos. Like, you couldn't have took them to a zoo, you couldn't have found a wildlife national park, nothing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like coming to mainland Australia and being in the city and expecting to see koalas hanging from the trees is crazy. Like, they really expected Jurassic Park in Australia. Like, first of all, you guys came with the wrong perception of what it was going to be, but I still am just on the side of, if you travel to a place and you want to see the wildlife, then you should travel to where like the wildlife would be, like where maybe metropolitan cities aren't. This feels like going to Africa and expecting to see literally giraffes and lions in the middle of the goddamn highway. Like, this is out of pocket at this point. But thus, here we are as to the plot of this book. So I think it takes off in a very questionable way. But I asked on my Instagram what should be the third book for this vlog. And the one that was most recommended was Hidden Pictures, which I don't know anything about, but I looked on Goodreads. So this book came out in 2022 and it actually won the Goodreads Choice Award for its category. Now, we know that that's questionable, but almost 107,000 ratings and an average of 4.15 stars. So let's hope that it holds up. But yeah, this one's gonna be the most risky in the vlog so far, but it's an Instagram choice. We're gonna call this an Instagram pick because this is what was recommended the most. I don't actually own Hidden Pictures, so we're gonna switch to the audio for this one and I'll come back with my initial thoughts. I am officially 35% into Hidden Pictures. I honestly think that I can finish this book in a night, which is perfect because this is a weekend reading vlog and I am on the last day. So if I can finish it tonight, then yeah, that would be perfect. But I like it. It started off really, really strong. We have Mallory, who is just leaving rehab. She had an opioid addiction and she is interviewing to be this summer caregiver for this little boy named Teddy. And the father is a scientist and the mother is a doctor at the VA. And she has a lot of patients, of course, that have experienced drug abuse. And so she seems more inclined to give Mallory a chance, while the father is very, very skeptical skeptical about her history and how reliable she'll be as a caregiver, and also in just general, he wants a better example for his son. One of the things that stands out about Mallory from the very beginning is that she shares a bit of an anecdote from her time period where she was using, and she participated in this research experiment where she was kind of like blindfolded, and she was asked to raise her hand every time that she thought she was being watched by the male gaze, and she had a like 97% accuracy on when she felt like she was being watched, and it's a bit of a sixth sense. And she even like described it as when she felt someone was watching her, she got like a ringing or a buzzing in her ear, and so automatically you're supposed to trust Mallory and her sense of suspicion and her sense of concern. And so when she meets Teddy, Teddy has this imaginary friend, but he's a young boy, so they don't think much of it. But then the neighbor tells Mallory that the house that this family recently moved into, a young girl or a younger woman went missing there like 65 or 70 freaking years ago, and that the community, the neighborhood, believes that the house is still being haunted. But Teddy's parents are more scientific than spiritual or religious. In fact, they actually make it a point to ensure that Mallory is not pushing any type of religious or spiritual teachings on him, not even being allowed to say bless you after you sneeze. So they are very skeptical, and so they don't believe in things like that. But there starts to be this connection between this imaginary friend that Teddy has, because he's drawing pictures of a woman that looks like she's being hurt in similar ways to what people think happened to the woman that went missing on this property years ago. And so there's this creeping suspicion into the paranormal, but we're not there yet. We're hanging and we're tipping over into the edge, but it is a slow process, and I really do enjoy such a slow unraveling of something like that. I love when authors take their time into like this descent into chaos, because you don't know if are we still going to be grounded in reality, or are we going to start to play with the paranormal sometime soon? Like, are we really dealing with the ghosts? I really hope that the twist at the end of this book is really good, because it seems like the type of book that depends on the twist, depends on the answers that Mallory starts to get to her questions. But so far in the beginning, the book is very driven by character dialogue and character relationships with another character within the story. And so you're watching these relationship dynamics kind of form between Mallory and Teddy, Mallory and the neighbor, Mallory and Teddy's parents, her relationship with her kind of like sponsor, and how all those things play into how she thinks and how she processes things. But I think that the trust is still there because of just her character build up, her character development. I right now find her to be reliable, but there have been some slight concerns about her sobriety and how long she'll be on the straight and narrow without backsliding into her drug habit. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but I am really liking it, and it has the makings of a 5-star book if it can pull off the ending. Like, if I can have a mind-blowing twist, that would be thumbs up. I have some thumbnails that I need to make and some emails and things to send out, so I'm gonna get back to it. I really feel like I can finish this book tonight, so I'll come back with my final thoughts. I have done it. It is 12:44 at night, and I have finished Hidden Pictures. This was interesting. I feel like for the most part, I enjoyed this book, and I enjoyed it enough to where my criticisms or my problem with the book did not take away from my enjoyment. And that hasn't happened to me in a while, where like I can acknowledge things that are wrong with the book, but like not wholly ignore them, but to continue enjoying it any damn way. So when I went to update my Goodreads for this book, I actually seen that it won the horror genre for the Goodreads choice, which is interesting because it was recommended to me as a thriller, and I think that it serves like a decent thriller, but the paranormal components to the story would make more sense as a horror. However, I think that I liked it more reading it as a thriller, because if you read it as a horror, then what happened in the book, or the explanations for what was going on, is very lazily done, if I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like you just barely just really barely closed that gap. And I think that there's more things that I am willing to let skate by in a thriller, because like I don't expect you to like dot every I and cross every T in a thriller the way that I would in like a horror. I think as a horror it needed more. I so if I'm rating this as a thriller, I would give it like a 4. Yeah, 4.5. But if I was rating this as a horror, we're looking at 3. We're looking at 3 stars here. I'm trying to explain what I'm saying without spoiling the freaking book, and that's usually pretty freaking hard to do. I think that with this book being written as a horror, you are waiting the entire time for this explanation as to why these illogical things are happening within the story. And it is just creepy enough and eerie in terms of the setting for it to be like a spooky, like creeping up on you thriller. But if this is just a horror, then you're just watching what's happening and it's not scary by any means. And I think that if you were just waiting for like the answer to like everything that was freaking happening, I still think that it's not very well done as a horror. I would not have voted for this book, but I also don't read a lot of horror, so like don't listen to me because I probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, as a thriller, I enjoyed it. I feel like overall I had a really good like time reading all of the books in this vlog. If I had to rank them, I would say that Drowning is certainly coming in at number 1. That one even got me to shed a couple thug tears. It was very emotionally provoking. And then I would put Hidden Pictures because the absurdity in that one didn't take away from my enjoyment. And then I would put The Island only because there were some like off the road moments that even me like still kind of enjoying the story was like, let's be serious for like at least a second here. But overall, the weekend reading vlog was a success because I gave every single book that I've read 4 stars and above. So I recommend the 3 different types of thrillers, so take your pick, but I highly recommend any of them. Just, you know, don't take them or yourselves a little too serious. Thank you guys for making it to the end of my video, and I will see you in the next one.